Hi, I'm Matt Little. I'm the Director of Counselling and Education, Empowering Awareness.Asia, and I'm a proud sponsor of this podcast.
Yeah, hi Tim.
Hi, Sai. Nice to see you.
Firstly, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to interview you for my podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I've gone through your profile. I can see you're doing great work. I thought to tell about your work to my audience.
hmm Well, hopefully.
So, can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah, I can. My name is Tim Russell. I'm the Chief Technologist for the Modern Workspace at CDW, a global value-added reselling organization.
So, you're from UK.
I am. I'm from the UK. I've also lived, and I have a Dutch passport. So, funnily enough, I've lived in the Netherlands, and I speak Dutch as well. Weirdly enough, but yes, I'm a UK-based Chief Technologist.
So, can you tell about you and your responsibilities?
I can. I'll give you a bit of a rundown, a bit of history. It's probably easier. So I've been in technology I started coding in 1979 when I was 7 years old. And I've spent the last, whatever years that is, 35, 40 years in technology. And my role now is very much taking the experience and the knowledge I have and applying that to technology changes we're seeing, innovation. I do a lot of work. I used to work companies like Microsoft, Vodafone, BT, and I do a lot of my work now dealing with cutting edge vendors, software manufacturers, software suppliers, hardware manufacturers, and understanding where they're going. So a lot of my job is about taking everything that's coming from different people and joining it up and creating my own vision of the future, and then helping our customers and also the public in general to understand what that means to them and how they can build to adopt and adapt to this new future, very often grounded in the fact that whatever they're doing today needs to change. So it's a little bit about looking to the future, but then tying it back into the reality of what is today and say, well, this is where you are, this is where you want to get to, how do you get there, and why do you want to get there? So my job is very much about doing that on a customer basis, about talking to Microsoft, Cisco, HP, Lenovo, Dell, Apple, all of those, and helping them understand what the market is seeing, and then also talking inwardly to the company I work for, CDW, and guiding development and direction based on what we're seeing as market trends and what we're seeing as market directions, particularly in the technology space.
So, Chief Technologist, before coming into this role, so what are those qualities or skill set or that knowledge or that background, that experience made you to be having this expertise today and helping more companies today?
It's a good question. I think there's two things. One of those things you can't just get. It's experience and a broad spectrum of experiences. If we do the same job every day, we don't really learn. We need to move that comfort zone. We need to work for different organizations. We need to see different perspectives. That experience is part of what I think grounds into the role of chief technologist. The other is very much about strategic thinking. It's easy to think in the here and now and what we need to do to respond to a given situation. Strategic thinking, I think, part of the core of the chief technologist role is looking to the future where you don't know what's going to happen, and creating a statement, creating a perspective and an opinion based on facts and experience. You can create that future looking vision, and it's that strategy and that ability to help organizations align to a goal. I always liken it to walking down a road to get to a destination. Well, before you start on any road, you need to know what that destination is, where you're going to. And the chief technologist role is very much about being able to step up. And we say the 40,000 foot view and things like that. It's none of that. It's about visualizing the future. If I know what the future looks like, how I will interact with the future, and most importantly, how it will make me feel, then it's really easy to decide what my first step is. But I have to decide what that future is. So when we look at a chief technologist, experience counts, because whenever you have somebody with a chief role, chief technologist, CFO, CTO, CXO, whatever it is, The person you're speaking to expects a level of maturity, a level of experience, and a level of knowledge. So the first thing, if you're going to get into those roles, you have to have those to a degree. And you can get them quickly, but you have to be confident in what you have. The second is to be able to talk about a strategic outcome, the direction that you're going to go, where you're going to go, and understanding your audience and being able to tie this all together. So in answer to your question, it wasn't I went off and filled off a checklist. I've got all of these things, now I can be a chief technologist. It was about passion for what I do. It was about an experience in the field I'm working in and the ability to talk at a strategic level.
So visualizing something that is going to happen tomorrow or next year or a few years later. So how that is going to be, and how do you connect that with the present?
Yeah, that's actually quite easy. So when you visualize the future, you might imagine a system or a way of working. And then you break that down into a few silos, physical infrastructure or physical interfacing. How will I, as a user, interface with whatever the future brings? How will I interface with it from a technology perspective? How will I interface it from a physical perspective? And then what is the data I need to make that happen? And 9 times out of 10, when you're having a conversation and you go from the future and you bring it back to today, it's about data. It's a data. You make the best based decisions about having the best quality of data. The reason let's take this holistically. The reason we have applications is to access information. The reasons we install software is to access information outside of gaming and things like that. We always want to access information. So whatever the future looks like, it will be built on a couple of things: how it interfaces with a human, and B, how it accesses, protects, and presents data to that end person. So when you come back to today, you start looking at things like cloud-based technologies. Are you ready to provide your solution at any time, at any place, to all people? No. Well, there's your first step. Do you have security and controls in place for your data? No. There's your second step, because they all become foundational. When we look at the future, if you want to build a house, you need a good solid base to build it on. You can't build a house without that base. And I always visualize this. We talk about the castle on the hill. Your basis is always going to be, wherever you want to get to, coming back and understanding how good your foundation is. Your foundation is your data, your security, your controls. And it sounds boring, but if you get that right with the levels of flexibility and control for the future, you can build anything on top of it. But without a good solid foundation, you're not going to get there. So it's fairly simple to come back on that. Start with the foundation, build what you want on top of it.
And what is going to be the future?
So I think the future is a couple of different things. I think how we interact and interface with technology. I've got, for example, it doesn't matter what they are. I've got virtual reality and augmented reality devices here in front of me. And the more I use them, the more I see them as the same way we accept smartphones, we accept smartwatches, we expect those devices. Except if I look at the glasses that I wear sometimes, they look just like the glasses I'm wearing today, but yet they present real-time data into my line of sight. I don't need to look at my phone. I don't need to look at my watch. And if I have a question, tap on my glasses and ask the question. I think one of the big changes we're going to see is our access to data is going to be more and more present, but the ability to take off the glasses and turn off the data when I don't want to. So how we interface with the data is going to change. I think the use of AI to augment us, and this is, there's a couple of really interesting use cases out there. The CEO, Dan Scarf of XRAI, I was talking to him recently, and they've got real-time translation. Now, they were one of the first, about 2-3 years ago, they came out with this. I know everyone's on this bandwagon. But it relied on the ability to present real-time translation into your line of sight, not in your ears, but so you can read it. And I started looking at that and I thought, it's how we ingest and how we consume data is going to change. We have Windows laptops, we have Mac laptops, we have Linux laptops, because we're used to the way of interacting with a keyboard. I think if we go a long way into the future, why are we even going to have applications or keyboards anymore? We're going to have a way of interfacing with systems, and what I said back to the start, the foundation of data. We're going to have natural language interactions. The keyboard's going to be something of old. The only reason we're going to use it is to keep conversations quiet or secret. because the rest of the time we're going to be able to talk into devices and share that. When we need data, we ask a question. We don't say open PowerPoint. We don't say open Excel. We don't say open Word. We say, I need to send X, Y, or Z to person ABC, and it happens. So I think the way we consume, the way we interact, and just the way we work with data will change. The concept of applications, I just said it, PowerPoint, Keynote if you're on an Apple. We do those to visualize a message. If we look at the core use most of the time for PowerPoint is to visualize a message, something I want to say. I want to reinforce that message with a visual. If we go to the future, I don't think we're going to need those tools, because when we talk about something, AI and the compute capability that we're seeing increasing on a day-to-day basis is going to be able to real-time backdrop our message with data that we require. And the way we're going to start doing that is we're going to stop creating static files, static documents. We're going to rely on data lakes of information aligned to us as an individual, aligned to who we are and how we think, to present what we have to say. So in the same way I'm talking to you now, we're talking. We have no keyboard. We're talking on a camera. We see each other, but we don't need a keyboard. We don't need an application. We just need the ability to communicate with each other. And if you were to ask me a question about Project ABC, the theory is that using the data lake, the AI, the communication capability, you could ask that question and AI would almost present the answer back to you while I talk to it. And this way of having real-time access to all this information, I think it's maybe a few years away for us yet, but the ability to do that, all of the technology is in place for that to happen. It's just now waiting for business to understand, and also in the consumer world as well. How do we change the way we interact?
So how do you see technology evolution?
I think there are some important drivers. One of the big ones I think is less is more. If we look at battery longevity, battery life, device recycling, I've got a number of devices here. I'm surrounded by technology. What if I could do it all on one device? And what if that one device had a smaller ESG footprint, required less resources, the battery lasted longer? We look at mobile phones. They used to be changed 6 monthly, yearly. Now people are going 2-3 years, and that's in the consumer world. I think technology is going to start getting the ability to last longer but do more. I always take the example of mobile phones. You've got a mobile phone. It's the most powerful compute capability you've got in your pocket. And yet we walk around carrying laptops and other pieces of equipment. So when I look at technology, I think going forward, we're going to have less devices, but we're going to have more information, and we're going to be connected all the time with the access to use that information where and how we want to. 5G was a prime example of that. The increased speed of connectivity. What we have now is a coverage issue. When that's resolved, we will have 24/7 access to the data we want to make the decisions we need to do, and we should be able to do that. From a single device.
So, what kind of problems that you love to solve?
The easiest problems to solve, and the ones I enjoy doing, is converting a business outcome to a technology decision. And this goes back to my history. So, as I said, I started in proper IT 1989, which means I've been doing this for 35 years. And in 35 years, I still see businesses trying to solve the same problems by getting a new bit of technology. So they buy the latest technology because it's going to fix the fact that we've not got enough people doing the jobs, for example. Where I find the most fulfillment is helping to say to people, let's stop making a technology-based decision. Let's stop. You've seen something shiny and you want to go and buy it, and I get it. It's great. Love it. But you're buying it because it's new and shiny. Let's stop and understand the issue you're trying to fix. Let's understand the core issues. Is it a people issue? Is it a technology issue? Is it a data issue? Or is it a perception issue? Let's understand what that is. And then coming back to where we opened up this conversation, let's decide and define what good looks like and what great looks like. And then work back from that. We now know what we want to get to. Let's come back and work out what we need to do. Instead of what I see happens quite a lot, and I do this in my job every day, we see customers making a decision because somebody has said, buy my product. It's the best for XYZ. And a customer gets all excited about the potential and forgets that actually they've got a problem to solve rather than buy a bit of technology. So although it's great that people buy technology, it has to be for the right reason and aligned to the right outcome. So answering your question, daily basis where I get the most fulfillment and fun is actually stopping that and saying, let's go back, let's define good, let's define great, let's define the outcome we're after, and then let's find the technology that solves that problem rather than we've got some technology, let's solve a problem.
So what is the difference that you're observing in businesses using technology, products and services today compared to previous years? Because you have been in technology for 35 years.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is a mind shift change. We have more technically enabled end users. We have more technically enabled customers. They know what they want. You know, the way we work. When I was growing up, my dad would go to work in the morning. He'd go, and in the evening he'd come home. Work was very much a physical location he had to go to do his job. Now I can sit on my job in Bali in the sun and do it on a laptop. That flexibility has changed how we consume technology. It also has driven a couple of things. Personal independence. You know, we talk about what device we use. That should be an individual choice. 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, that wasn't a choice. You have to be here. Here's your device. Here's what you get. Go do your job. And if you can't do your job, sit there until someone fixes it for you. We're now giving more independence to the end users. We've got BYOD. We've got Citrix servers. We've got ways of accessing things remotely. So the way we work has changed massively. So the technology has had to keep up with that. If we tried to put the solutions from 30 years ago in, it wouldn't work. Similarly, the solutions we have today wouldn't have worked back then because of the mindset of the human nature. What I think's happened most is that technology is moving really quickly, maybe not always in the right direction, which is meaning it's a struggle for organizations to understand what it actually means for them. So the technology is moving so quickly. Getting back to the previous story, you've got these new capabilities, these new exciting things, and businesses are struggling on ways to implement it and bring it in. Instead of going to the foundation, how do I secure the data? How do I secure the identity of people? How do I create ubiquitous access? How do I make it easy for people to do their job? And so, it's changed over the last 35 years. All it's going to change, I think, going forward in the next 35 years is connectivity, expectations, flexibility. When we look at the humans and how they're going to change.
So how do you see this responsibility as a chief technologist, integrating technology and business when you are speaking with the business owners?
I think the responsibility is you always have to be a representative of the person you're speaking to. I'm never there to position just my perspective. It's to understand where someone is trying to get to. Put it this way, if somebody comes and asks you the directions on the street, it's because they want to get somewhere. It's not because they want to hear you say, I was at this great place down the road. No, they want to go there. And the chief technologist role is about signposting people. It's about bringing that experience and that knowledge, but understanding where they want to get to. I think we also have a responsibility is to ask questions, because it's very easy to give a perspective and opinion, but you have to ask questions. What's important to you? What's not important to you? What have you learned? What pain do you have? What do you expect to be doing in a year's time? Do you have a vision of the future? So a lot of my role is about asking the right questions, leveraging experience where necessary, but also bringing in what I know of partners, vendors, software developers and all of that, and trying to make sure that customers are making the best possible decision for their business and for the planet. And I'm just going to touch on that one as well. Some of it is about ESG responsibility. Here's an example, right? And I presented this last week at an organization. How often has somebody gone onto a website to buy a USB cable, and there's a really good cable, and it's a simple story because we've all done it, for £10.99, for example. But then you can see I can buy 4 for £8.99. And you go and buy 4 because you think you've got better value for money. What you're going to have is at some point in the next 6 months, possibly, those cheaper cables start failing and you have to use another one. Or it might fail at the worst possible time, which gives you an impact to time. Some of this is about making customers particularly, but also any business person, the organizations, helping them to understand there's a difference between quality and cost. And you need to find the right balance. It's not always the cheapest. It's definitely not always the most expensive, but helping get this quality evaluation in place. And this is where it comes back to, where do you want to get? Why do you want to get there? What's important to you? What does the future look like? And then you tie it back to the solutions with a balance of quality versus cost, because we have to be realistic. People have got businesses to run.
Is it easy or is it challenging for you to make the leaders or the business owners to uh, understand how their business can be benefit with the technology products and services or the tools that you suggest? Is what kind of a communication that helps you to make them understand and relate with what you're saying?
I think it's always person to person, whether it's online or whether you're meeting them face to face. It's not emails, it's not chats, depending on the people. But I think, and this is one of the things I learned probably good 25 years ago, it's about adjusting to your audience, because not everyone's the same. Not everyone thinks the same, not everyone works the same. I think the most important soft skill that comes from experience in this kind of role is understanding your audience and changing your message. But there's also a point of realizing that you have to be talking to the right person in an organization to drive change. You can talk to, just a general worker in an organization, but then you have to talk to hundreds of thousands possibly. If you start talking to managers, you simplify the message. You start talking to execs, you're driving change from the top down, which means you have to repeat less, but your message changes very much as well. So understand your audience and change the message to adapt to the person and what's important to them. It's not about manipulating the situation. It's about understanding the person you're talking to.
So working with different industries, how is that?
So working with
The companies or the businesses which belongs to different industries.
That's quite challenging. So imagine this. One day you're talking to a legal company, billions of revenue, and the next day you're talking to a manufacturing company. How many common stories can you imagine between those two? You can't. But when you talk to a CFO, it's always going to be about the cost of running the business. When you talk to the CRO, it's going to be about the cost of winning business. You talk to the CIO, it's going to be the cost of securing business. I think if you're talking at the right level across those organizations, it's easy to move across them. It's when you start changing into people who have very specific capabilities within an organization, you need to become more industry specific. It's about driving your conversations to talk to the right audience more often than not.
So how do you adapt to the constant change that is happening?
Every day's a change. I embrace change, welcome it, because if we did the same thing every day, we'd all get pretty bored pretty quickly. So I think the biggest challenge, and maybe to answer the unasked question, is how do you keep on top of the constant change of technology? You know what? It's really hard. To a degree, you can keep on top of a bit of everything, but when you look at technology, I mean, it could be anything. So focus on what actually excites you. So I focus on the technology that excites me, which means I want to be good at it.
So what do you say about world technology, like humans connecting to technology today?
Sorry, say the question again.
What do you say about the world using technology today, the humans' connectivity with the technology?
What I say about connecting, here's the thing, it comes back again to people and business drivers. Why do we do things? Why do we need this data? Why do we connect? It's to achieve an outcome. It's understanding where people want to get to. There's when I look at connectivity and data and all of this, I've got a really simple equation. It's 3 words and they all start with the letter E. The first one is equity of experience, which means I don't care who you are, where you are, what language you speak, you should have the same access to data and capabilities as everyone else. The second E is it has to be efficient. How you consume it, but also how it is provided has to be as efficient as possible. Less clicks, for example, in software, less cost to develop or deliver, however which way you look at it, but it has to be efficient. And the third one is the one we always seem to forget, particularly in the business world. How many of us would go to work if we weren't getting paid? We probably wouldn't. So the thing is we're going to work because we have to. Shouldn't we focus on making the emotion in that work a happy one? So equity of experience, efficiency of delivery and consumption, and emotion. We want to focus on making people feel happy when they're engaging with technology. And I don't mean a fake happy. They shouldn't feel frustrated. They shouldn't feel sad. They shouldn't feel anger. We should focus on positive emotions. And if we can focus on all those three things when we're delivering any technology, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a winning scenario.
You have seen humans getting adapted to the technology in this 35 years. So how
Mm-hmm.
next 35 years is going to be based upon the experience?
So you got to imagine 35 years ago, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have mobile phones. You didn't have this access to data all the time. I think the next 35 years, and I've hinted at this, we're presented with even more data. And I think there may be some negatives. The way we've already seen with social media cues and things like this, people's attention span have reduced. We've seen over the last 2-3 years with the advent of AI, people's ability where they rely on AI to retain the information that AI has been surfacing for them has reduced. I think we're actually going to become more dependent on technology to help us get through our daily lives, to remember things, to store more information, to have readily available information. Because if you go to 35 years ago, people would remember phone numbers. The number of people who can't remember their own phone number nowadays. I mean, that's where we're going to start relying on technology. You imagine you're plugged into your AI tool, you tap your glasses, whatever it is, and say, what's my phone number? Technology allows us to do this. So I think we're going to see different skills coming out of people. We're going to change how we access data. We are going to become more reliant on data, but hopefully, and I can't answer this because I don't know the answer, hopefully we're going to develop as a human race into other areas while relying on technology to help us become better, more connected, more responsible to our environment.
So in this process, how data management and data security is going to be in future?
So there's some interesting things there. Data is key, right? There's no two ways around it. The more we know, the better the decision we make. I think, and I've been studying it for a little while, I think blockchain's an interesting one. Whether it's blockchain technology or something similar, when we start owning our data and being able to footprint it and know who has access and being able to control access to that data, I think we start getting the ultimate control. We have data that's based around who we are, what we are, but we absolutely have to secure that. We've seen a lot of passwordless stuff. We've seen multi-factor authentication, but it has to be seamless. People, you, me, and everyone else, we want it simple. If I access something, well, I know I'm me. I know why I want to access. I know where I am. Why do I always have to go through all these rules? So biometric fingerprinting, the ability to know that somebody is somebody to the best level we can, I think will influence how we store and manipulate data. Carrying data with us in cloud-based storage in the likes of blockchain, distributed storage, for example. I think we're going to see some growth there, but there's still a lack of drivers to create a global adoption of that sort of technology. It's going to happen in niches, but it's not going to be global yet. So secure that data, confirm the identity, control access is really the base of this. And then what you do with that data is down to an individual level going forward from there.
There must be a strong reason for you to be in the technology, and there must be a strong driving force for you to enjoy what you're doing. So what is that?
Yeah, it's really simple. I believe technology enables us to do so much more. Without technology, we can't do half of the things we do. We couldn't have this conversation. So I'm driven by a belief in technology for good. I'm belief of technology for learning and improvement of those around us. Outside of technology, there are personal drivers, but they align very much to this. Technology for good, technology for enablement, technology for communication, technology for connection. If we look at what's important in human psyche, it's about feeling connected, being able to talk to other people, feeling part of a community. technology allows that to happen, particularly for the disadvantaged. So I'm driven very much about this concept of technology is absolutely amazing, but it is the possibility and the innovation that we can build up in people to use that technology to do amazing things is what drives me to keep pushing it.
So what kinds of the customers will be expecting from you when they come with their problems for the solutions?
Sorry, I missed the start of that question.
The clients that comes to you, what kind of solutions that will be expecting for the problems that they are coming with?
To be honest, quite often they don't know. Quite often clients will come with what they might think is a solution, but nearly always they'll come with a problem. I've got a challenge. How do I fix this? It might be cost, it might be time, it might be security, it could be any of the things, but it will nearly always be, I've got a problem, I need your help to fix this. If they come with a solution, it's actually harder quite often because they've already made a decision. If somebody says, I need to buy product ABC, excellent, go and buy it. You've already made your decision. Whereas if they are more likely, and my father always used to say this to me, it was, don't tell me how to do it, tell me what you want. Tell me what you need, and I'll help you find a solution. Because if you tell me how to do it, I'm going to have to unpick everything you've done and then start again. So the best clients are the ones that come and tell me their problems.
So what is challenging for you in this?
I think quite often the challenges can be personal biases. It's very easy to go to the things you're comfortable in. It's very easy to think, if this was my business, I'd do this. But it's not my business. I'm there to kind of give the best possible perspective, but focus on the fact that, and realism, that the person I'm talking to is still a person. They may have preferences and different challenges to me. So ask the question, understand the problem, understand the challenges they face, and understand what good looks like to them, and then help them on that journey. I think the biggest challenge is personal biases, but that's pretty much the same in any conversation.
So in the beginning of the call, you mentioned more about how this business is going to be in next few years. Like you are going to help as a visionary, right? So how you understand or how you help them giving the solution that will help in their scalability?
Yeah, so scalability is very much a very specific focus on how a business operates on a day-to-day basis. It's about choosing the right solutions that allow them to scale, but also going back to this concept is whenever you start on a journey, you only focus on where you want to get to. So change comes in every step, every day, something could change. So long as you don't lose focus of where you're trying to get to, that day-by-day journey should be really simple, because you're given a vision, you're given a direction, you're given an aspiration. That hardly ever changes. And if you can help business understand that, the challenges, the changes, the new technology that arrives next week, next year, next month, whatever it might be, isn't a challenge, because you're very clear on what you want to get to as an experience. Because what you design as your goal is not this technology will do that. It's this user will have that experience. And if we bring that back to today, every day, it doesn't matter what comes, it doesn't matter what changes or what challenges come, you're still focused on the experience you're going to be building at the end of that journey.
You're working with different industries. So how you are adapting yourself to a different industry?
Interesting one. I think it keeps coming back, going to that common. Where can I find common things that go across the industries? For example, though, I was talking to healthcare last week, but we've all been in possibly hospitals, doctor surgeries. We have a perspective, and it's not about faking the story. It's about taking my perspective of that industry and applying it to the information I'm sharing with them. We drive cars, so to a degree, we might understand manufacturing, how a car was made. We go to shops, to a degree, we understand retail. I'm not an expert in any of those industries, but in nearly all industries, we have some form of experience. It's about personalizing that experience to make the stories or the information we share more relatable to the people we're talking to.
you become the top viewer. You're watching things from the top angle, the social world, because you are
Mm.
watching all industries, how they are working, the operations. So how it feels. Uh, uh, do you understand, like in this 30 years, what you understood about social aspect working in technology?
I yeah, it's a good question. I think, when I started in technology 30 odd years ago, it was technology. It was just computers. It was bits and bytes. It was mainframes. It was Novell 312. It was PBXs for those that remember it. I remember the launch of Windows 95. It was nothing to do with people. It was a shiny CD. What I've learned over the last 35 years, and it's not recent, I've learned some time ago, it we only do technology to enable people. We might be technologists and we might have a great grip on technology, but ultimately what we're doing is we're empowering people to be the best versions of themselves. And we can be great coders, we can have an amazing technology knowledge, be the best in the world, but the net result is that technology is to improve the lives of people. So people become the core. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, it doesn't matter what technology you're working with, it will always relate back to how does it impact the people. And I think that's one of the most important things I've taken away from the last 35 years.
So how is leadership? You're enjoying it?
Leadership,
Yeah.
yeah, again, as they say in a Spider-Man film, with great power comes great responsibility. Leadership, it's great to have a good title, but you also have the biggest responsibility. And I think sometimes I absolutely love my job. I seriously think I have the best job in the world. And weirdly enough, I'm in a role where I don't feel like I'm a leader. I'm inspirational. I give insight to people, but I don't feel I'm a leader. I feel like I'm walking side by side with people. And I think that's the best thing about a leader is a leader will do what you do, but also walk alongside you, challenge you, ask you questions, but also be willing to learn. And as an individual, being able to manifest all those skills and be able to do it in a safe environment every day, well, mistakes happen. It happens. You can make mistakes. We learn. Failure is the best way to learn. So I think, getting into a leadership role where you feel safe in making mistakes, dare I say it, I think is one of the best places to be.
When you attend conferences or any events, so do you remember the questions that made you think or that made you feel excited?
I don't, unfortunately. I struggle to remember names as well, which is a bit embarrassing at times. But what I do remember is the emotion. It comes back to human nature. So if somebody asks a question on the stage or they talk about something, it's not necessarily that you take their question literally, but it triggers something in your synapses. You start thinking about something that you might have seen a week ago or a day ago or a year ago, but suddenly you make a connection and you think, what if? And I'll never forget that emotion of excitement and wanting to jot it down, to pencil it out, to pull it out and give it a visual. And I go, yeah, that's going to work or it's not going to work. So yeah, no, I don't remember the questions. I quite often don't even remember what event I'm at. But what I do remember is the excitement I get when these dots start joining up and I start creating a vision of what could be possible in the future.
And AI impact on humans today.
Brilliant. I think AI really makes a big difference. I use AI on a daily basis. I do it so I can do more in the same time I used to do. So if I look at AI capabilities, the skill in AI is asking the right question. And I come back to where I talk to customers. Ask the right question. Probe, push, question some more. None of us know everything. So the only way we get to give the best insight, the best information, or to know what we want to know is to ask the right questions. AI, it's not a search engine in steroids. It's not necessarily even a reasoning tool. It's a resource gathering insight maker that I can then take or leave. But it's a way of speeding up my work. I think I did a deep fake presentation last week. Great, I can deep fake someone and make it look like they're really there talking to you. That's not really AI. That's machines doing really clever stuff. It's compute power. we've got Moore's law, compute doubling every year. It's the ability to do more stuff. I think AI is about asking the right question of computers to give the information we need. And for that, I think it's really good. But it's about responsible AI use.
So does technology changed you?
Yeah. Yeah. If I didn't have to work, I'd probably unplug and live on an island in the middle of nowhere and have no technology. Technology has, no, I'm joking. Technology has an absolute place in our lives. I talked about our reliance of it in the future. I think that's something that's going to happen. But I also think we need to protect social interaction. We need to protect the ability to talk to people. Only yesterday, I spent the morning out with my daughter on the motorbikes. And we went out, we talked. We didn't look at phones. We had an intercom, we talked. And what was really clear to me yesterday is quite often we rely on sending people messages and you feel connected. But until you address that basic human nature to actually talk to people, you haven't really addressed what you're looking for. So for me, technology is a must-have because it delivers great things. But as a human, we need to realize that we're really dependent on human interactions, human connections, and we need to protect the human side while utilizing the technology side to make our world better.
Do you have a message to the technology leaders or business owners who are working on technology, or non-technology business owners for watching this?
I think do the right thing for the right reason. We're here to build the future. I presented again on Friday a slide, and the last slide says, none of us are walking into the future. We're creating it. We have a responsibility to use both our personal insight, our personal influence, but also the technology we work with to build the best possible future for everyone else. So be responsible in what we do, be focused on the positive outcome, and never lose sight of the fact that we are humans at the bottom of this. And we have to think about emotion, equity of experience, and efficiency of delivery. And if we can focus on those things, we'll create the best technology going forward.
As an observer, as a chief technologist, what is your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
I think what I've seen, and I have to be honest, I've been so busy, I've not had a chance to catch much recently. There's a lot of information, and it's about these different perspectives. We have a habit, of listening to the things that we agree with and ignoring the things we don't. And I think, the likes of you and other people is giving us other people's perspective. We have to realize that we need to listen to it as well. We need to draw the conclusions and not just listen to the things that make us feel happy, but listen to the things that make us uncomfortable as well. And I think having, anyone who creates content that allows us to see different perspectives is a positive thing. So carry on doing it.
So, as you have started with playing with the computer today, communicating with computers today, you're communicating with humans. You are into communicating with humans today. You are into that role. So, I did masters in software engineering, also bachelors in computer science and engineering. Right now, I'm working as a cloud DevOps engineer for a London company remotely from India. So that's my full-time role. Apart from that, I'm interviewing experts like you who are already in the industry, who are in the leadership roles, and who are also working in business side of the technology, also who are working on the developing the technology tools and services. So me as an observer, as a technology enthusiast, how this talking with humans, technology owners, and also businesses from all around the world, more than 100 countries experts I have interviewed. Tomorrow I'm going to interview the Amazon Web Services Vice President, Jeff Barr from United States. So how this kind of an global understanding global technology and how humans are using technology to solve their problems, how this kind of a connectivity, this whole thing is going to be useful for me as a person, as an individual, or as for my career.
I think there's a couple of things that's going to make a difference. One is your notoriety. Obviously, people are going to know who you are, but it's not that. That's something you can leverage. It's it's the knowledge you gain from having those conversations. You say about 100 countries, social backgrounds, physical differences. I once talked to a company that was based in sub-Saharan Africa, and the things we take for granted here in the UK, power's on 24/7, water's available 24/7. We talked about battery life, and for them that was amazing because, well, we might have 4 hours of no power. How do we keep the laptop running? That sounds weird, but understand that every country has a different set of challenges. Ask the questions, understand what their biggest challenges is. I think for you, it's going to give you two things. It's going to give you an understanding of your audience. You must realize by now, everyone you talk to is different. Everyone has a different set of things that's important to them. Everyone's trying to achieve a different thing. And the sooner you understand what's important to them, the sooner you understand what they're trying to achieve, the better you can help them. And I think for you in your role particularly, is that ability to adapt to your audience is a skill you're building up. The second is an awareness of the massive diversity. We're all on one planet, an insignificant small planet in the universe. And yet we have an infinite number of differences in the way we do things, the way we talk, the way we communicate. And understanding that we're all different is a core understanding and the core basis of any communication we have going forward. No two people are the same. So I think those two things are going to make a massive difference for you as an individual going forward. Particularly, and again, I will ask you the question, have you realized that technology and people aren't the same thing? People rely on technology. Have you seen that yourself as well?
100%. Yeah, I believe the same. What you said, I believe the same.
Yeah, we're there to do good.
Great, definitely. Then, can you share your online presence to my audience so that they can follow you and they can learn from you?
Yeah, of course. I'm on almost every social media platform you can look for, but start with LinkedIn. It's Tim-Russell-EU. Feel free to join that one. And all my personal hobbies, etc., you all find under LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all the usual stuff. But feel free to connect, follow, and communicate with me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to start.
Can I put this clip on my podcast with your permission?
Sorry, say it again?
Can I publish this clip on my podcast with your permission?
More than welcome. Not a problem.
Thank you, Tim, again for your valuable time and sharing some of your experiences and answering some of my questions.
And I'll say so as well. Thank you for your questions, because it helps me get an insight into what's important to you, but what's important to the people you're talking to as well. Some of your questions, they're going to percolate through in my brain, and tomorrow the synapses are fire and I'll have another idea. But it's great to have that perspective, and thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Have a great day.